The most recent Edge magazine provided a little bit more of an in-depth look into Call of Duty World War II, both the multiplayer and zombies features, and provided a little bit more insight into some of the things that we can see either being debuted further at E3, as well as maybe some other event happening over the summer and next coming months before the release of Call of Duty World War II this November. Now, while I do love multiplayer and zombies, the one thing that really caught my attention was the mention of some of the things within the zombies mode, to which Glenn Schofield gave a little bit of information about how their trip to Europe informed Sledgehammer on every part of the game, including zombies that they wanted to do, in which he further detailed that there's some really authentic stuff in there. There's backstory that's based on real events. Now, while we know there is no such thing as real-life zombies, this is something that gives us a little bit of an insight into the narrative that could be Call of Duty zombies in World War II. And while history is rich with all kinds of strange and messed up experiments on the part of the Reichstag, this is where I wanted to take a look at the truth behind Call of Duty zombies in World War II, something that just gives a little bit of a look at some things that I think could maybe be the catalyst for our storyline this coming November and the content season to follow. But up front, all of this is pure speculation and just theory. Take it at that. It's just a little bit of a discussion on some things that I think could work out. So, that said, let's take a look at some of these things that could be a hand at where our zombie storyline goes. One of the first things that I want to discuss is the actual performance-enhancing drugs that were used to make air quote super soldiers on the part of the Nazi armies. This being DIX or D9, it was a performance-enhancing drug used by the Nazis towards the end of World War II and was the aim to redefine the limits of the human endurance. While it was planned to be supplied to all German troops, the mass production and distribution was interrupted by the end of the war. Now, this drug was a compound of oxycodone, cocaine, and methamphetamine. So basically, they just drugged the hell out of all the soldiers to the point where their bodies were in overdrive as is. The testing to follow showcased just how much of the performance enhancement it was, as those tested could reportedly walk up to 90 kilometers a day without any rest while carrying a 20-kilogram backpack, which for conversion is almost 56 miles, all while carrying roughly 45 pounds of stuff in your backpack without any rest at all. So sure, that was a little performance enhancing, but once again, those kind of things just make you numb to basically anything. So narratively, where this could fall in line is perhaps something goes wrong with the pill and kills off but reanimates the soldiers. Who knows? Once again, it's just one of those things that I think is interesting and what it could mean here with this. But another subject of Nazi German testing was a bunch of freezing experiments where they would freeze their prisoners at concentration camps, whether that being in ice baths or putting them out into the harsh winter conditions and letting them freeze and studying how long it would take and what would it take to actually push their body to that breaking point. This would then end up killing off basically everybody that was a part of it, but in their process of resuscitation or sometimes reviving or air quote reanimating them, some of these actually were successful tests, but of course a lot of them ended up dying from shock based off of what they were doing, because they would do some things like putting boiling water back into their systems after having been frozen to death, or by heating them up in warm baths and increasing the temperature, to which their bodies would not be able to stand the shock and they would thus die twice essentially. So this once again could have some basis as being an experiment gone wrong that could lead to a zombie army or something similar as our zombies mode may interpret. Another thing that could be possible for where this is based in fact is a collaboration with Unit 731, which was initially going to be a Japanese group that was a control and prevention unit for infectious diseases and other things like that, but instead later on as time passed, they became a group that injected and distributed deadly diseases against those who were all not supporting the Japanese cause. They killed off an immeasurable amount of people due to their injections of some of the deadliest diseases in the world, and therefore, once again, just that whole genetics could be something that plays into this as well. But the fourth and final thing that I want to talk about today might be a little bit more out there, but of course, that's something that is usually home to these types of things, but it's also an interesting way to look at because not many people really think about this when they may think of a zombie army. This being the experimentation with twins. Dubbed the Angel of Death, Nazi doctor Joseph Mengele was commissioned by the Third Reich to find the genetic quirks that produce twins, and then once found, to use that and exploit it to artificially and exponentially increase the Aryan birth rate for Hitler. What's intriguing about this theory, though, is that the Angel of Death was never actually captured following the war. Instead, Mengele fled to South America, more specifically across multiple locations in time, including Argentina, Paraguay, and Brazil, and while evading his arrest, he settled within Argentina and may have left a profound effect on a specific village's birth rate of Candido Godoy. Theory has it, in interviews with the locals, they believe it, had it that Mengele was helping with genetic experiments, but with the local human population, though at the time he only publicly posed as a veterinarian. This then sparking the theory that perhaps his lifelong quest of producing the blonde-haired, blue-eyed multiplier Hitler commissioned decades before was finally attained. Current scientists will debate this notion as it being passed off as a byproduct of inbreeding amongst a not so culturally diverse and already small pool of people to choose from, which thus would then keep the gene responsible for twins to be passed on to be more likely, but regardless, the intrigue and lore behind it could theoretically be applied to decades earlier, as if the test back then were successful at a quicker rate, and thus the story would be based on fact, but not reciting it as such. But regardless of what this could mean though for the storyline, it's intriguing to see that there is going to be some factual evidence that stems off and then becomes the zombies narrative for Call of Duty World War II Zombies mode. And I think that's something that we can all get behind as something that is pretty cool and maybe do some investigative work at some point. But I want to toss out some theories here that I thought would be very cool and get your feedback here on them as to maybe this could be the catalyst once again for the Zombies mode, maybe not, maybe we're way off the mark, which probably is the more likely of the candidates here, but love to hear your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Do you think that any of these would be cool to see as the catalyst once again for the Zombies narrative, or do you have anything else that you think might be that sort of thing that births the zombie storyline within World War II? Feel free to drop your thoughts down there in the comment section down below, but that said, I'm super stoked for Zombies. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with everything we have here regarding Zombies, that being in Black Ops 3 as well as World War II, Zombies Chronicles, multiplayer, Call of Duty World War II stuff, all that good stuff, we got you covered here up on the channel. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. I practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But all that said and out of the way, hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day. Mine has been Nikolai Espresso. Take care and peace.